Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. A quick warning before we begin, in this story there is mention of sexual assault and pregnancy, so of course you can always skip the story. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user Simple Archie. Would I be the a-hole for divorcing my wife because she wants to have a child? English is not my first language, so I apologize for any mistakes. So, 6 years ago, I, 28 male, got drunk at a friend's wedding and a woman, Anna, 39 female, whom I had rejected multiple times throughout the night, ended up forcing herself on me while I was nearly passed out. It was a whole mess and I fell into a deep depression. Things got worse when Anna showed up at my door after a few weeks saying she was pregnant. I begged her to terminate her pregnancy and leave me alone, but my dad and stepmother welcomed her into our house like nothing had happened. I never wanted to have kids, so when this happened, I was clear with Anna that I didn't want anything to do with her, but I'd pay child support. I also cut contact with my dad for supporting her. After a few months, my son was born and Anna just disappeared. Nobody knew where she went or they didn't want to tell me. My dad also refused to help me because I had cut him off, so I was on my own. To be honest, I fell in love with my baby right away. Seeing him fight to survive and then holding him in my arms was the happiest moment of my life. And while it was hard, I made it work, just the two of us. Then, 3 years ago, I met my wife Claire, 26 female. We dated for 1 year and have been married for 2. Even when we were just dating, she was always perfect and she adored my son Archie, 5 male now. She would play with him and read him stories and never said anything bad about him. She knew what had happened, but she was so loving and understanding and I thought I had won the lottery by meeting her. The same happened when I met Claire's family. Everyone was so welcoming and they loved Archie so much. They offered to babysit him and even took him on vacations so Claire and I could have a weekend to ourselves. Then, a few weeks ago, I told Claire that I wanted to have a vasectomy so we could have a better sex life. She asked me if I was really sure, and when I said yes, she got very quiet and changed the subject. Now, even before we got married, I was very clear that I didn't want any more children. At the time, she said she was fine with that because we already had Archie. I knew she was upset, so I brought it up constantly until she finally admitted that she was hoping I'd changed my mind so we could have another child. Claire said she understood why I didn't want kids in the first place due to my childhood, but that I had become a perfect dad to Archie and I'd be a perfect dad for our second child too. She also said she had asked him if he wanted a little brother or sister and he had been very excited about it. I got upset when she said this and accused her of trying to manipulate my son, so we ended up having a fight about it. The next day she apologized, but she still wanted me to think it over. She said she'd support me no matter what I decided, but that this was important to her. I told her that I was hurt because she had never mentioned this before and she just said that she was allowed to change her mind. Finally, she told me that we should talk with her parents so I could hear from them before making a decision. I admit I freaked out because I didn't want to discuss my sex life with my in-laws, but she assured me that she had just told them because they were close and she was looking for advice on how to bring it up to me. Anyway, last night we had dinner with her parents. We visit them every other Thursday since that's my father-in-law's day off, and it was a disaster. I explained how I'd never wanted kids until Archie was born and how even then he was the exception. For their part, they told me how much Claire wanted to have a child of her own and how this could be good for all of us. Where things got messy was when they said they wanted to have their first grandchild. I told them that Claire and I had been talking about adopting Archie and my mother-in-law said, "But he still wouldn't be my real grandson." They also said how they loved my son, but they couldn't love him like a real family member because they were not related by blood. Finally, my wife said she was having second thoughts about the adoption because Archie already had a mom and she didn't think she'd be able to bond with him like a real mother. So that's why she wanted to have a child of her own. I was devastated, but I didn't want to make a scene in front of my in-laws, so I just told them I'd think about it and to give me some time. So now I'm sitting at home thinking that I don't really know Claire. I didn't know she felt this way about my son and wondering if she had been pretending all this time. If we have another kid, I believe she and her family will just ignore Archie in favor of their real grandchild. On the other hand, if we don't have another child, I fear she will just resent us or even become abusive towards my son. But at the same time, I don't want to throw away an otherwise perfect relationship, and I really love Claire. Would I be the a-hole if I divorce my wife over this? I don't know if I'm overreacting or if this relationship can be saved. Any advice would also be welcome since I don't have anyone else I can talk to right now. Well, Opie, first of all, I'm truly sorry for what you went through with Anna. She is an absolute scumbag, and it's a good thing she's not even close to being in any of your lives anymore. Now, regarding Claire and her family and Archie, I don't think you're an a-hole for thinking about divorcing her, considering she said she couldn't love Archie like a biological child and her family said just as much. Which, by the way, on that point, I think going to talk to your in-laws or including them in this conversation was totally out of place for her to ask, and you shouldn't have accepted it. The only good thing that came out of that conversation is that now you know how they all truly feel about your son. He is not related to them by blood, so they can't love him as much, which is just so ridiculously stupid. Opie, in my opinion, Archie comes first, and if divorcing Claire and getting away from her family is the best way to keep him safe, then that is the option. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment, or what advice would you give him? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Lizzie says, not the a-hole. Fair enough, she gets to change her mind about wanting more kids, but equally, you are allowed to change your mind about being with her if she starts forcing this. To be honest, the things they said about Archie not being real family is so hurtful. If that is really how they feel, I would rethink the relationship. Like you said, if you do end up having another kid, will she favor that one because it's real? Sometimes it's best to let go, so you both get what you want. And I am so sorry things with Anna went how they went. Good on you for stepping up and being a great dad after all. Rocketman69_ says, calmly let her know that in the light of things, it's best that you divorce so that she can fulfill her dream of being a mother. You're both set in your ways and your marriage is going to suffer long term and end in divorce later when it's too late for her to have children. And Next Pack 8900 says, no, you wouldn't be the a-hole. It is the best for both of you. Opie's Edit. Thanks everyone for the comments. I haven't been able to reply to everyone, but I'd like to answer some questions. 1. Did I talk to my wife about not having children before we got married? Yes, we had the discussion at least 3 times, and she always mentioned she was okay with it. 2. Do I treat her like a nanny or there is money involved? No, I earn more than she does, but she still has a good job. She does work from home, but Archie is still in daycare because I want him to socialize with other children and I didn't want her work to be affected by having to look after a toddler all the time. 3. Will I get therapy? I've had a therapist for 4 years now. Archie is also in therapy. 4. Why didn't I have a vasectomy years ago? I got no excuses here. I'm just an idiot. 5. Why did I get married after only 1 year of dating? We were both in love and rushed into things. I'm also an idiot for this, apparently. 6. Did I get a DNA test? What the F? I didn't get a paternity test right away when he was born because I didn't care. I had already put my name on his birth certificate, and after Anna left, I just wanted to take care of him. I did eventually get a paternity test done. Spoiler alert, he is mine, but it was mostly for legal purposes since I wanted to take him out of the country for a job opportunity. 7. What happened to Anna? Who knows? I never heard from her after she left. My dad said he didn't know anything, and my friends from the wedding said they didn't know where she went either. And 8. Did I report Anna? I tried. Unfortunately, I grew up in a country with some outdated ideas, and I wasn't taken seriously by the police. Finally, I know that my in-laws were biased and that they would take Claire's side. I knew that when I agreed to have dinner with them, but I genuinely wanted to know if there was something Claire wasn't telling me. I was, and still am, confused and full of doubts about the whole kids thing. So I wanted to understand where she was coming from and what she was feeling. I just never imagined they felt the way they did about my son. So the community agrees that OP would not be the a-hole to go the divorce route. And in his edit, he clarified the most pressing questions in the comment section. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I appreciate everyone who took the time to read my previous post and commented with their advice. I was happy to see so many people sharing their own experiences as step-parents or stepchildren and those who tried to put themselves in my wife's shoes. It gave me a new perspective and that helped a lot. I also saw some people asking for an update, so here it is. Since Archie plays football every Saturday, I asked a friend of us, whose son is also on the team, if she could look after Archie for a while. I wanted to have this conversation with Claire without my son present in case we started arguing again, so we just headed home to talk after the game ended. I know a lot of people said I should just divorce my wife, both to protect my son and to let her move on, but please don't be mad at me. When we sat down to talk, I wasn't ready to give up on my marriage just yet. At that moment, I was willing to compromise with Claire about a second child as long as we got couples therapy to address her and her family's feelings towards Archie. Even after the initial fight, when I said I wanted a vasectomy, I was mostly confused about what to do since I just wanted my family to be happy. Anyway, I started by asking her to explain why and when she had changed her mind. Claire started to apologize right away, and she told me that she had always dreamed of having a big family. She said that she tried to convince herself that she could accept not having children because she really loved me and she also loved Archie. She admitted to lying when I had asked her about it because she didn't want to break up and she felt I was giving her an ultimatum of either choosing having kids or choosing me. I never intended it to be one. I just didn't think it was fair for any of us to be in a relationship if our goals didn't align. She also admitted that she had always been hoping I would change my mind once I saw what an excellent mom she was to Archie. What surprised me the most is that apparently my mother-in-law tried to convince her not to get married because it wasn't fair of her to expect me to change. Claire also told me it was mother-in-law's idea to babysit Archie and do all those things together so my wife could bond with him and get used to the idea that he may end up being our only child. When I asked her why her mom had made the comments about blood being important, Claire said she had asked her parents to say that to convince me why it was important for her to have her own kids. I told her how hurt I had been by what they said and also when she told me she had changed her mind about the adoption. Claire said she was just scared that one day Archie would want to reconnect with his birth mother and that he wouldn't love her anymore. Apparently, she had been reading a lot of stories from other step-parents who had been cast aside, especially when the birth parents showed up again or if there was a divorce involved. Her anxiety got worse around a year ago. According to Claire, she had always introduced herself as Archie's stepmom when she picked him up from the daycare because she didn't want to take Anna's place. I lost my patience and reminded her that Anna had abandoned us, so there was no place to take. At this point, we started arguing and going in circles. She accused me of not understanding how hard it is to be a step-parent, and I told her she was fighting against windmills. After we calmed down a bit, she told me she got even more scared of being replaced when Archie started asking about his mom. She also felt guilty because she was sure he only asked because she kept correcting everyone about the whole mother-stepmother thing. She also said I made it worse because I didn't tell him the truth about Anna and tried to sugarcoat things by telling him that his mom felt guilty because he had been born very sick and she didn't want to see him suffer. Honestly, I just didn't know what to tell him because I didn't want him to feel sad about being abandoned. Claire accused me of still caring about Anna. What the F? And that's why I didn't want to paint her in a bad light. When I told her I just panicked and made up a lie in that moment, she said I should have just refused to answer and take Archie to a therapist. We did get him one the same month. That's when Claire said I should have tried to find Anna so we could have split custody and Archie could be with his real mom. I admit, I lost it and started yelling at her that Anna was just a horrible person and that if it were up to me, she'd never see Archie. She had sexually assaulted me. She had tried to manipulate me when she got pregnant. She had abandoned my son right after he was born, and after all these years, she had never bothered to reach out. Claire yelled back, saying I couldn't understand what a woman goes through and that maybe she left because of postpartum depression and that I made it worse by just giving up and moving to another country where Anna couldn't find me. I said that wasn't the reason why we left and she knew it. I also told her how everyone who knew me back home had my contact information and my address, so it's not like I was hiding. What finally broke me is that she said it was my fault that Anna left because I refused to step up and do the right thing by marrying Anna. She tried to apologize right away and said she didn't mean it, but I just told her to leave and that I wanted a divorce. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I just locked myself in Archie's room and started to cry like a baby until she left. She just packed some stuff and later sent me a text saying she'd be staying with her parents. The rest of the day was a blur. I went to pick up my son and briefly told my friend I was getting a divorce. She and her wife hugged me and told me they would support us in any way they could, especially if I needed someone to look after Archie. I spent the rest of the day with him and we decided to have a pijamada, just the two of us. We ordered pizza, played with his new toys, and watched some movies until he fell asleep. Since I can't sleep, I thought I'd write this update to vent or something. I feel like my life just imploded and I'm so heartbroken. I don't even know how Archie is gonna take it, so that's also gonna be hard. Anyway, I guess this is my final update since there's nothing else to say. Thank you again for all the advice. Wow, OP, Anna just went from bad to worse. I mean, that comment about how it was your fault that Anna left, yeah, that was her just placing the tombstone on this relationship. I'm so sorry for what you and Archie are going to go through now, but you will be together. Archie will always have you, and that's always a positive. So on that note, OP, here's wishing you and Archie the best in the future. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user KJWeb8. We must get our pictures taken? Okay. I worked in a factory years ago that had what we called the Wall of Shame. It had pictures taken by a professional photographer of all office and floor personnel. As you would expect, the floor personnel were all in dirty factory clothes, office people in dress attire. This was done when that plant opened and new hires were sent to the photographer's studio for their picture at the end of their first year. I worked third shift and was told that I and another co-worker had to go after our shift to get it done. I tried to get out of it, but was told in no uncertain terms that we had to go. Cue the seemingly harmless Malicious Compliance. The co-worker I went with was a drinking buddy. I told him at the bar the day before to bring a shirt and tie. He asked why, and I told him it would upset the plant manager. He was in. The next morning we went to the studio and the photographer gave us a puzzled look. He said he thought he had 2 floor workers scheduled, not office workers. For those that don't know, floor workers at most factories are considered extremely stupid trained monkeys. I innocently said we didn't know we couldn't look nice for our pictures. He dubiously took our pictures and sent us on our way. The fallout. About a month later, my coworker and I were called into the plant manager's office to explain our pictures. He was ready to explode when I again explained we just wanted to look nice as our pictures were being professionally taken. He turned a deep shade of red when I added I didn't know it was against the rules for floor workers to dress up for their pictures. He dismissed us while trying not to flip out on us. My friend and I barely held our laughter in as he slammed the door behind us. It gave me great amusement to look at those pictures until they closed the plant. Well, OP, like you said, you just wanted to look nice if the pictures were being professionally taken, and that apparently there was no dress code for the pictures. And hopefully you started a trend for any future pictures being taken. Thanks for sharing, OP. Take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.